that you're having, huh?
Yeah, going back to the combine, it's been a crazy week. So I look, I enjoyed my time in Indianapolis. This weather's been crazy, but come back to a bomb, so to speak. And look, I could just tell you, I'm not really surprised based on everything that happened last week. We got to talk to Mickey, got to talk to Dennis, and it was only just a handful of us being able to talk to him. So I mean, it was just one of those things where, look, I think we felt really good about their chances of getting Derek Carr, and I'm glad it's finally put to bed. Now we can build a bridge and move on.
Well, he is the Saints lead writer and reporter for @Saints News. You can follow him on Twitter @John J. Hendrix for everything that you need for your Saints news. So let's talk about that. John, I gave you the floor. I mean, now you got Derek Carr in the building. You got Derek Carr going to be your next quarterback with the Saints. You said y'all talked to Loomis. I guess give our listeners, how did all this go down? When did you kind of get the feel that this was 100% going to be the thing? And I guess, how do you feel about Derek Carr being the next quarterback in New Orleans?
Yeah, look, I mean, first and foremost, they had a great visit when he came in. So, I mean, a good 2-day visit that kind of put the building blocks for everything. And look, they were patient with Derek. They were not pushy. They weren't saying, look, we got to get you at any cost. They're willing to let him go talk to other teams and such. And then, look, they came back at the combine. And obviously, there was a deal in place that, he could have been traded from Las Vegas. But given how Vegas treated Carr and his ability to have the veto power and the no trade clause, he didn't do that for Las Vegas, so that's not surprising. And so when we got to the combine, look, everything had pointed in to, look, we're going to talk to him again, and that they really felt good about it. Everything that I heard and everything that I was told, he was playing A and B, and then the C option nobody would have really liked probably. And, but the Saints weren't worried about the C and D option and all the other things. They were all in on Derek Carr. They felt really good about it happening. They had a great pitch to him. They talked about, all the different advantages of playing with the Saints, that the fact that division is I'm paraphrasing. The division's not good. It's crappy, right? You play in a dome for a lot of games. The NFC is a lot easier path right now because the AFC is very stacked. So it's like one of those things where you can just get to the dance because Carr wants to win a Super Bowl, right? And who doesn't? But at the same time, he's never had a defense that's been better than 20th. So they got all the pitches here for, Carr and all these different things for him. And so had a great meeting with Pete Carmichael. They have a very good, solid vision about what he's going to be able to do in the offense. And I look forward to seeing it get done because it's been the most important thing that they had to address this offseason. And it's not been good since Drew's retired. I mean, they've tried, right? And I get it, but there's just been certain limitation with some of the quarterbacks that they've had. And I think that's one of the reasons why you saw a lot of confusion with Pete Carmichael. Everything I was told too, they feel really good about now. They know how to best use Taysom Hill. That's a big thing for this piece too, to the puzzle. And obviously he's not going to be going to Denver. I know a lot of people said, hey, Sean's back, let's get him. And that was not going to happen, right? They like Taysom too much in the building. So they feel good about it. Now we got to wait and see what happens with Michael Thomas. That's still not off the table. We got to see what happens with Alvin Kamara. I believe that they are bracing for a suspension of some kind for him. Right. No matter how the legal process plays out with him, he still can get suspended under the personal conduct policy by the league. But they got to wait until see how this trial stuff wraps up. He still could get popped for 6 games. They're going to have plans to look at the draft and be in the free agency market for running back. So a lot of download information, so you could take it and we'll go whatever direction you want to go after that.
All right, well, good, because you kind of led me into my next 3 questions. What was the plan going to be if Derek Carr didn't come to New Orleans?
They were going to look at Jimmy Garoppolo. That was one of the things that he was going to be on the radar. So
Derek Carr, our savior.
Yeah, I heard Jimmy Garoppolo heavily on there, and that didn't excite me one bit. And nothing against Jimmy G.
Agreed.
It's just that I don't think that he had everything that the Saints wanted. And look, when you look at the contract price for it, I don't think they made out bad in it. You got to pay for a quarterback right now. I mean, look at what Daniel Jones got. That's ridiculous. I don't know how he got that much.
For every touchdown pass he had last season, John. I mean,
sign me up. I can go throw a couple of probably, and I'm fat, overweight, all that stuff. I
I'll
can't
just
do
throw
that.
one. I might have one touchdown and 45 picks. I will get one. I promise you that.
Yeah, right. Some point.
All right. So you brought up Taysom, which was really my biggest question. How did that conversation go with Carr? Because now that they say that they know how to utilize Taysom and what they want to do offensively, that conversation had to come up, I would assume. I guess, what can you divulge between that conversation of what they told Derek and how they're going to utilize Taysom Hill?
Well, I mean, he's going to be a weapon. And of course, you look at it and you see what he's able to bring to the table. The usage was a little bit questionable, obviously, from last year. And you look at the third downs, you look at the goal, red zone situations, just not what you really wanted there. And look, some of that, you got to remember, they didn't have a big bodied possession guy like a Michael Thomas that could help move the sticks. That didn't help things out for their offense. But, look, they have a vision where Pete Carmichael, Derek Carr's going to probably get a good bit of the say so and how he runs the offense. And look, he's going to be some of those guys. One of the things that you got to remember is that when Drew was in the building, Drew was the one that was making all the checks at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Past couple of years, it's been the offensive line, Eric McCoy. They feel confident in Carr being able to be that guy right now to make the checks at the line of scrimmage, kind of like a Drew. I think it'll take some pressure off the offensive line and put them in the best position possible in the offensive perspective, but remains to be seen. So I think that's obviously a big part of seeing the offense. And then just with the Taysom stuff, it's going to work. It's just one of those that now with Carr being able to move the football and being able to be a stronger passer than, and then Andy did well for all things considered. And, Jameis' experiment just didn't work out the way everybody thought it would. And so, look, they feel like they've got a real hammer here, long-term guy that can run the offense, has a calmness to him, has a lot of upside. And he doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to be Drew Brees, but he can be the best version of himself and then just win the NFC South and you get into the playoffs and then see what happens.
John, the only thing that worries me about Derek is the interception to touchdown ratio is not that good, right? Like 28 interceptions the last 2 seasons. And look, I call me crazy, but I know that he's had really bad defenses. Well, the last 3 seasons, who else has had really bad defenses? Kirk Cousins. And their numbers, if you look into it, is extremely comparable. But the difference is Cousins has more touchdown passes, has a better completion percentage. There are things there that you look and say maybe that you're getting a Kirk Cousins, but are you getting Kirk Cousins into the NFC South? Now, my only question would be, and something that could take a lot of pressure, what you just mentioned, off of Derek Carr. Look, every year, John, every year, I've had you on this show multiple times throughout the 3 years. Every year, I build myself up so much. MT's coming back, baby. He tweets, and then he plays a game, and then all hell breaks loose. John, what do I need to what's going on here with Michael Thomas? Do I need to get my hopes up again?
No, I don't know if we say hopes, but here's the situation is that I think it was a little bit premature in just saying that he's not going to play for the Saints because of the restructuring contract. There is a chance. There's still an opportunity there. But look, I would say that don't expect the Saints to put all their eggs in that basket, even if they do somehow get Michael Thomas back just because of the need. And look, again, Mike is a competitor. He wants to be out the field. He wants to play. Dude, he was blowing it up at training camp. We weren't exaggerating that. He looked amazing in Atlanta. Injury, other leg, all this type of stuff. Just it's never a good time to have an injury. And so, look, I think there's a way that maybe they are saying, okay, we don't want to pay you on this old contract. Let's work something out that makes sense. Let's put some contract incentives. Let's pay you. Let's make sure that you can get it. Because this is a guy that before the injuries happen, he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory type of path. I mean, you go from the 2019 Offensive Player of the Year to now you just I don't think his market would be that good. I think he would have to be, kind of like what Jarvis did last year. Look, I think he's got the upside, but Jarvis took considerably less money. Only $3 million with an upside of $6 million. I think MT would be kind of finding a pretty cold market there. But again, we'll see how that plays out. But look, I know they love Michael Thomas. They want to find a way to try to get him back if it's possible and it can work financially. And I think he's going to be excited at the concept of Derek Carr. And just look at what Devontae Adams. I mean, he wanted to get traded to the Raiders to go play with Derek Carr because of how he played.
Right.
Now he's kind of stuck in that situation. But it's going to be interesting because the wide receiver market is going to be one of those types of things. Christian Kirk kind of screwed up the market last year, but he also did deliver a good bit too for the Jaguars. A big reason why they got in the playoffs. But with Mike, look, I think with him, we'll see what kind of contract they could potentially work out. But don't be surprised if he is a Saint, or if he is a Saint, then they're going to make sure that he's going to be solid, and then I think they will have a good, strong backup option to that.
I don't know how else to say this because I don't want to poo-poo on these people because they do a really good job, right? Is the Lattimore salary cap casualty? There's no truth to this, right? Like, this is kind of crazy. Like,
No.
So I mean, look,
Zero chance.
didn't say it. Okay, so I'm not just blowing this. Like, I'm not just saying no. There's no chance. There's no legs on that, right?
No, I mean, he can get restructured, but they are at there. There's like literally no chance of Lattimore leaving the Saints right now, unless they decide they want to trade him for some reason. But right now, again, he's the top corner, right? They think he's the top corner. They do have some visions of potentially working Alontae Taylor in the slot. They do love Bradley Roby. He's still here, and they definitely like Paulson Adebo. So this is the one area I feel like they're the strongest at on this team is the corner
I
spot.
agree.
And so,
John, I
don't
agree.
fix what ain't
When
broke.
I heard that today, I was like, you're going to cut a dude and have that much dead money at corner? There's no way.
No.
Okay.
Not happening. I don't know where that's the first I've heard of it, but no, everything I heard
It was
last
on the
week.
herd today, and they said that he might be a camp.
He spits vomit just to help hear the home voice. Doesn't know anything.
All right. Couple more, we'll get you out of here. John Hendrix. You can follow him on Twitter at John J. Hendrix with an X, not a CK. All right, John. Something that I know that you've been following literally really close. I read all of your stuff. Alvin Kamara. Now, I will say this about the Kamara situation. I do think it narrows a focus on you offensively where, dude, Bijan Robinson, Gibbs from Alabama could be there late in the round. And I will tell you, watching Gibbs play, watching Bijan play, I'm a fan of both of them. Do you think the Saints are really, really looking at that position considering Alvin may be suspended 6 or 8 games?
I don't think it's just because Alvin might get suspended. I think they just want to upgrade. I think in general, just because they're missing a guy that's a power back that can run up the middle, up the gut. And so, look, I don't know if they'll get Bijan. I don't think he's going to last. But, man, I tell you what, that Bama guy, I really would be interested if he can get him at 29. Him or Kincaid, I think that would be pretty good weapons for them to have. But look, they're going to shop in free agency. They're going to look at the draft for running backs. And, look, Mickey was asked about, the running back spot kind of a little bit and just getting some insight. It's not that the team hasn't wanted to draft guys for the running back spot. They've just been taken, and they like other players that they value at a higher spot, and they take those guys. And so that's kind of what's been the byproduct is like, okay, if a guy they have ranked 200 on the board and you're picking at 105, you're not going to reach for the guy that's there. You're going to go with the guy that you have on your board that's going to be the higher ranked guy. And so, look, I would expect free agency to be a little bit interesting. I've seen in the chat guys talking about like Kareem Hunt. That could be a possibility. I like guys like Alexander Madison out of Vikings and stuff. I think there's a lot of things that they'll look at for this running back market. And so tough to see Mark come back. They do have Benjamin on the roster. Outside of that, David Johnson, I mean, I don't expect him to come back at all, but we'll see how things play out. But I do expect him to shop in free agency a little bit. Now, whether they land somebody or not remains to be seen. And they're also going to look at the draft too. And we'll see how that plays out. But I know they're going to look in both areas to get some more running back weapons here on this roster.
John, a non-Saints related question. Lamar Jackson. Your thought? No, I'm going to ask you. Well, maybe I can make it a Saints question. Do you think they pulled the trigger on Carr a little too quickly, seeing that what's going down with Lamar?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this was interesting because now, once the Carr thing got done, then you had the Geno Smith stuff, the Daniel Jones, all these
Yeah,
different
he
things
set
that
the
have happened.
market. Right.
Yeah, I think this is probably the play. And look, this was their guy all along. It was Derek Carr. This was Dennis. He's been given control of the staff. He's putting his guys there. He's going to get his quarterback. And look, they've kept in touch. Whether people know that or not, they've kept in touch all these years. Had glowing things to say about him when the Raiders played the Saints that week earlier in the season. And so, look, those two have a good relationship. Carr's a really laid back kind of guy, but he's going to get the job done for him. And so this was their guy. And like I said, they view him as a long-term solution type player, not somebody. So I don't think that they're going to, at 29 or 40, you don't think they're going to take Hendon Hooker. I'm just going to tell you right now. They got other pressing needs. They have one defensive tackle on the roster. They're going to have to figure out what happens with Caden Ellis. I know they want to keep him. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him. So there's a lot of things there from their own. Juwan Johnson, they got to figure out a way to keep him. So there's a lot of other pressing needs right now for this team. So with Lamar Jackson, look, it's unfortunate. And it's kind of weird that all these teams have said, well, I'm going to shop on Carr. I'm going to check on him, but now I'm not going to do anything for Lamar Jackson. It just kind of stinks a little bit to me. And so where there's smoke, there's probably fire. And I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later what's actually going to happen. But I don't think anybody wants to give him a fully guaranteed contract like Deshaun Watson. And so Browns look like they got a little bit of eggs on their face. And thank God the Saints had avoided that crap too.
No doubt. And you know what's interesting? You see in a lot of these mock drafts with your boy from Clemson, Bressie, falling all the way to 29th. And that's a very realistic thing. And the Saints definitely need interior defensive linemen. Pooh Ika is a guy that, a lot of LSU people know who went to Baylor, who, John, quite honestly, I think fits in a lot of different schematical things in reference to Dennis Allen. But just last thing, and I'll get you out of here, I promise. What's your thoughts on this Lamar Jackson situation? Let me ask you this. He doesn't have to sign the tender, right? Like there could be a deal done or something happen at the end of the draft, right? Like he could still not be a Raven, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could shake out here. I mean, the thing is, if there's a team that comes to the table, they can send an offer type thing, and then the Ravens can match it. There's all sorts of compensation that comes in. Miami's a team that can't talk to them. That's interesting enough because of the no first rounders or anything like that. So it's just want to be, some of these other teams. I always said that I have a tough time seeing him leave Baltimore. And just look at him being out of the lineup last year. Their offense was absolute garbage without him. And so, look, you just got to find a way to make him happy. I think his best fit is in Baltimore right now. I don't know who else is going to step up to the table. I think that people should look at him, but it's funny that Atlanta says that they're not going to look, or the Panthers are not going to look. It's really telling this, like, what's going to happen with him. But look, I think for Lamar Jackson, just stay the course, find something that's going to make you happy, and then just kind of keep going for it.
That's why you're the best, man. It's really why you're the best. John J. Hendrix, you can follow him on Twitter, buddy. You've been fantastic as always. Who dat? I guess. What does John Hendrix do now until the draft? Do you just, you got a lot to do, but now that you can kind of take a little bit of a breath, I guess, what does John Hendrix do now?
Man, I tell you, after the combine, I'm glad to say that I'm probably done traveling until August. So that's a good thing. So I had the Senior Bowl, and then I had to be in Indy. And so it's like, even though the season was over, it's still stuff. So that's a kind of a relief. I love to travel, but it's still one of those things that just wears on you a little bit as it goes through. But looking at this free agency stuff, the new league year is a week away, pretty much. So I'm going to be working through that. And then obviously got the draft prep, but it's going to be a little bit quieter around here. And now, especially since they got Carr stuff done, now we can focus on the other stuff that this team is going to need. And so, look, it might have a little bit more Xbox time. I am old, but I still play games. I watched Delirious and Raw today. That was part of my day for Eddie Murphy. And so I've watched some Chappelle show. So, that's kind of what things have done. And so I got a couple of radio spots, but it's just, it's pretty chilled.
You know what I did Monday night, or was it Tuesday night, whatever it was, or last night, whenever, I don't even remember what day it is. Today's Tuesday.
Must have been a good night then.
Yeah. Whatever day it was, I literally turned on Madden and traded Derek Carr to the Saints just to get a feel of it. You know, you got to do that, baby. You got to put in Madden to get Derek Carr. You got to trade him. You know. Now I did put his attributes all the way up to 99 on everything. So
of course you did.